Hello, 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 hello. Here we got the Canberra Raiders. Canberra Raiders. Let's see it. Let's see it. How they win. How they won. Canberra Raiders. Intermix hector. Intermix hector. Canberra. 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 Yep.
Terrifying scenes rock NRL to its core. The South Sydney vs. Canberra Raiders match has been rocked by horrific scenes which saw an injured player seemingly convulsing on the field. The NRL has held its collective breath after horrific scenes saw Raiders Corey Harawira-Naera suffer a suspected seizure on the field. The concern was immediate for Harawira-Naera as the game stopped immediately as soon as referee Grant Atkins realized he Terrifying scenes rock NRL to its core. The South Sydney vs. Canberra Raiders match has been rocked by horrific scenes which saw an injured player seemingly convulsing on the field. The NRL has held its collective breath after horrific scenes saw Raiders forward Corey Harawira-Naera suffer a suspected seizure on the field. The concern was immediate for Harawira-Naera as the game stopped immediately as soon as referee Grant Atkins realized he was in trouble. Watch every game of every round of the 2023 NRL Telstra Premiership season live on KO Sports. New to KO, start your free trial now. It was instantly clear that Harawira-Naera wasn't just injured and players from both sides stood in front of the second rower in order to give him some semblance of privacy. The medical officials were quickly on the scene to treat the 28-year-old. The game was stopped for several minutes as Harawira-Naera was treated, but it was soon revealed that he was conscious and was talking to the medical staff. He was quickly medicated off the field to a round of applause from the crowd. Fox League's James Hooper revealed the encouraging update. The NRL have reviewed what happened with Corey Harawira-Naera, he said. He took a regulation hit up, and when he's gone to move back out to the left edge, he became disorientated and then he's had a seizure. The good news is that he was responsive. He was talking to medical officials and his teammates, and we wish him all the best. More to come. NRL News, Matty Johns slams disrespectful Dane Gagai snub, State of Origin, QLD vs NSW, Game 1, StarTimeNews.com.au Australia's leading news site. NRL icon Matty Johns has taken aim at the way news of Dane Gagai's omission from the QLD Maroons team came about. Gagai was left out of the team, despite being a staple in years gone past in what was one of two bombshell omissions. Watch every game of every round of the 2023 NRL Telstra Premiership season live on KO Sports.new to KO. Start your free trial now. Kalyn Ponga was dropped from the team in favor of Broncos fullback Reece Walsh, but news of the Newcastle Knights star being left out didn't drop until the morning of team announcements. For Gagai it was a completely different story. News of his shock omission filtered out in the week leading up to the teams being named. Johns wasn't happy that news of Gagai's shock departure from the team had been leaked, saying the circumstances surrounding his Origin exit left him stunned. The Ponga one, I was very surprised, but I get it. But I was stunned by Gagai not being selected, Johns said on SEN 1170's Morning Glory with Matty Johns. Can I just say what I really did think was disrespectful was that about 3 or 4 days before the selections, it came out in numerous media outlets that Gagai was not going to be picked. Now, number one, I just didn't believe it, and one of the reasons is how he's aimed up. Regardless of his club form, he's always, in my opinion, aimed up. But I just didn't believe it because given what he's done for that jersey, there is no way someone would leak it, but someone had. That's the thing I found really disrespectful. Shocking. The Maroons were widely condemned for ditching their pick and stick method when they announced the team for Game 1 on May 31st. The method has been preached over and again by Queensland legends, with the established connections between the playing group giving them the edge on the field. Well, I think they've thrown loyalty out the window, Buzz Rothfield said on NRL 360. No Ponga after that game he played 2 weeks ago. One of the best individual performance all year. NRL News, Matty Johns slams disrespectful Dane Gagai snub, State of Origin, QLD vs NSW, Game 1, StarTimeNews.com.au Australia's leading news site. NRL icon Matty Johns has taken aim at the way news of Dane Gagai's omission from the QLD Maroons team came about. Gagai was left out of the team, despite being a staple in years gone past in what was one of two bombshell omissions. Watch every game of every round of the 2023 NRL Telstra Premiership season live on
Introducing Han.
Welcome to NRL 360 Rugby League from every angle, all thanks to NIB. Joining me again, Gordon Tallis, journos. Let's bring him straight in. Paul Crawley in Adelaide.
We need him to play his game and do a clear job for us. I think that's we can't just go out and say, take people's heads off. You have to do it in a disciplined manner, but aggressively, and that's what he brings. And we got him, Junior, Payne. I mean, it's a pretty intimidating front row for us. So if those guys can really set the tone for us early, then they'll lay a good platform for us for sure. Origin footy, there's always scuffles, there's always push and shoves. That's just the nature of the game and what the game creates. So, I mean, yeah, it's hard to sort of talk about that, but we want to be aggressive. We want to take a backward step, and we want to go after him for sure.
Fittler to fight fire with fire. Now, Brad Fittler has shown his cards very early. He has said that he's taking a gamble. He's happy to roll the dice. He's got Tavita Pengai Jr. in there, Hudson Young, and he's confident they will get the job done. But he has openly admitted that it is a bit of a risk. Thoughts on this?
Could be a masterstroke. I look at this and Tavita, and no one really saw this coming. You know one bloke I reckon who did see it coming? Phil Gould. I reckon this has got Gus's fingerprints all over it. And I think he could be. We all know he's as mad as a two-bob watch. But I've been waiting for Tavita Pangai to get to this stage for about 4 years. And I'm really happy for him. I really hope he goes out there and he handles the occasion. But he has to be very careful that he doesn't go too far.
So just on that, I spoke to Gus about 8 weeks ago, and he was talking about Tavita Pangai, and he said, he told him, you've got to pick up your act, you've got to be more disciplined, you've got to work harder than what you've been working over the past couple of seasons, or else you're gone. So Gus has put the rocket up him earlier this year, and he seems to be responding, and this is why he's earned his spot.
And to his credit, Braith, to Vita's credit, remember he sat out the World Cup guys to get his pre-season right, to get into that mindset that potentially that Gus has challenged him with, and he has. I think we are guaranteed fireworks. Absolutely guaranteed.
Okay, so
He's been picked for a reason.
10 years ago, the punch got banned, didn't it? And then in 91, they picked Mark Guy. Hasn't the game moved on a lot from that? They picked someone to come and target?
You run the risk, Gordy. If anyone goes out there with the intention of starting to blue and you end up leaving your side a man down for 10 minutes.
All right, guys, it's competition time.
10 minutes late. And I hadn't seen Gus for about 6 months, but I was ready to take my position in the team. And when I walked in, I saw Benny Elias and Ciro. They were both part of the City Origin team as well. And they kind of looked at me and then went, oh, shit, he's here. Because what had happened before that is Gus Gould said to them that I'm going to get the sack. Guy won't be in the team because he's late. He's not here again. And so I've rocked up, and Jeff Carr, I said, Jeff, where's my gear? Everyone's in the tracksuit getting a photo. They said, oh, mate, have you spoken to Gus? I said, no. He said, I don't know what to say to you, because he said, anyway, so Gus is next door, and I went in and said, mate, where's my gear? He goes, no, you're out. He goes, you're late. I kind of, Alan Jones rang and said, what happened? And I said, mate, this is what happened. He said, I've got a car to pick you up now. Picked me up. I went back to his factory at Newtown, worked out our next plan of attack, got on the phone to John Laws, who was a partner at the same radio station as Jonesy, and gave my version of events live on AM radio. Like, this is surreal.
Yeah.
I've had a fight with my coach, my grand final winning coach. He's now the Origin coach, which he just dumped me from. I'm driving home in Alan Jones's hire car to talk to John Laws, the boy from Wayland. That was a spin out. Yeah. What a spin out! And then the year after that, I was playing for your minor. Then Western Reds. Like, it was just this rugby league thing has been a journey, man. It's been one of them things I look back on, and I actually got asked recently to write a book about it, and I thought, you know what, this time of my life, I don't think I could give it justice that it deserves, and I don't think it's fair on my kids to be bringing shit up that's scandalous, and that they have to, because if I want to do it, I'm going to do it with the boots and all. You know, in other words, don't do it. You know, that's kind of what these avenues are really good for, to get express yourself. You know, podcasts and vlogs and stuff. People can see this now and see that I'm a passionate person.
No doubt.
Very passionate. If you're my friend, you're my friend forever. If you're my enemy, you're my enemy forever. And it's going to take a lot for us to change them type of scenarios. But I love these. I love to talk. I love to tell my story, because a lot of people don't know why I was so crazy. I tell them the story about what happened with Mum. You know, I get.
There's always a reason as to.
Of course there is.
Like, we've got a genetic potential, but we've also got an environment that shapes us as well, and that's usually what is we're products of our environment.
A week. We've got New South Wales players here. I've got Queensland players here. I'm going to start at the top and ring every player and see if they want to play a game of footy at Parramatta Stadium. Ring Parramatta Stadium. And Triple M got right behind me. Parramatta Stadium said, we'll give it to you for free. In Excess came, $20 tickets. Every player, Jimmy, who I spoke to down that list. Not one of them said no. Not one of them said no. Said, where have I got to be?
I think rugby league people are generally like that, but they need a leader to guide them. Like, you know,
Well, that was it.
even now you can imagine. Yeah, but you can imagine someone now ringing you up for a worthy call. I'll come. But we're people that are willing to act. We just need a little bit of leadership and
Attention all tradies. We built a radio station.
The first time most of these guys have ever faced that. So, you know, the coach and some of the senior guys need to get around and explain to them how important it is that they cool their head, but as well as making sure that they gain ascendancy during those early stages. So it's a really hard, and we spoke to Victor earlier. He's a similar player who plays on that red line, and sometimes, you know, they can't control themselves. I mean, that's sometimes what gets you there is what keeps you there. So Pangai Jr., although he has matured, still has that in his game. And I think Freddie and Brandy have said through the week, it's all the chips are in with him. And I'm really glad he's there. Look, I love Jake, and he obviously defensively really tightens up the middle for New South Wales whenever he plays for us. He's fantastic, does a wonderful job. But the excitement that Pangai Jr. has actually brought to game one, just the unpredictability of having a guy like that running out, I think it's exciting for the concept, and everyone is waiting to see how he responds. And I kind of get the feeling that he likes that. Like, you know, I get the feeling that he's a guy that's going to enjoy the bigger moments, and he's definitely got the natural ability and the talent to do it. It's just whether or not he can control his emotions and understands, you know, the gravity of the situation, because New South Wales need to win game one. We don't win in Queensland very often. Yep. And Queensland have a record of coming down here when they need to at Accor Arena and getting the job done. So it's essential that Pangai Jr. and the boys know what they're going to get done.
Hudson Young is another guy who can put it out there.
Yeah, I think I heard a couple of interviews with them at the start of the week. I feel like they didn't sound like they were there to, you know, be a hothead or to get in a fight or to be a standover man. They knew they were there because they've been playing good football for their clubs, and they've been doing that. I know Hudson has been for Raiders and Pangai as well. So I dare say they're not going to be going out there trying to be bullies or giving penalties away, but they're going to be there to do a job. And I dare say, you know, after Gagai punching the shit out of, punching Burton, I feel like at the same time, you can't sit back and just think, hang on, there's no punches here. But it is Origin. I feel like there's a different rule there. And they learnt that in game 3 that, if it's going to be on, you know, don't get hit first, because I feel like that gave Queensland that they just had something more in that game 3 and they got them over the line. So it is a little bit different to NRL. I feel like they won't be thinking about that, but if it's on, they're players that won't leave it a chance, I think.
It's interesting you mentioned the Tino Fasor Malawi and Matt Burton incident, because that's been spoken about this week a lot. And you sense that they felt like they got a bit bullied last year in game 3. And speaking of those guys, you know, Jerome Luai and Isaiah Yeo, they said that's not happening again, because they've all seen the shot where, you know, Tino's got Matt in a headlock and Dane Gagai's swinging, and all you see is Queensland jerseys. You don't see any New South Wales jerseys there, because the game had gone on and they played on. And it took a lot of them a long time to get there, and I think they've realised that cannot happen again, because that was a bad look.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely what they'll be thinking for sure.
You've been hanging with the New South Wales side so far?
Been out there a couple of days, yeah.
Yeah, how they look? Yeah.
They looked all right, yeah, they looked all right. Got the shoes off and did a bit of earthing, and they looked in pretty good spirits.
They're playing some Tina Turner music going through the speakers yesterday.
I wasn't there yesterday, Tone, sorry.
Okay.
But no, they always look confident, though. They're a good team, right? I mean, when you got Tommy and Latrell in your centres, you've got every reason to be confident.
Enormous back line there. I mean, the forward pack for Queensland's fairly impressive as well.
Well, it's the same back line. They've gone back to the same back line they used, I think it was 2021 when Tommy and Latrell played?
Yep.
And we all thought Josh had Okara coming to camp and play outside Latrell, but he's playing outside Tommy, and Brian Tyer's playing outside Latrell, because that's the back line they had back in 2021. So, you know, they've got some positive vibes out of that. But yeah, I like the look of the Queensland pack, Tone. I think guys like Tommy Gilbert's made for Origin. I think Tino will start. I get the sense that Tino might start rather than Flegler, because I think Flegler, you bring him on, he brings some aggression and energy and enthusiasm. But I like the look of that Queensland pack. I just think if Queensland's got, for me, that's where Queensland's got an edge.
Yeah, I just a little bit worried about the inexperience of that Queensland starting pack. So, yeah, I'll be surprised if Turno didn't come into it. There's a lot of guys there that would be starting their first Origin game, and sometimes it takes you a couple of sort of runs at Origin to really understand, to get up to speed with it. And leaving a guy out like Christian Welsh, who does, a lot of the little things, he puts a lot of pressure on Nathan Cleary. He's part of the niggle. He's just a guy that drives that part of the game for Queensland and has for years and years. So they'll need to find someone that's going to do all those little things on the back of everything else that they need to do. But I'm sure that they've got some guys out there with the ability to do that. It's just whether or not early on in their Origin career they're up to handling those parts of the game as well as what's expected of them. Because he's a bit of a specialist at that sort of stuff. And they've always got one of those, Queensland. There's always, like Stephen Price used to do it, they've always got that front row or the back rower that just drives the halves of New South Wales crazy. So I'm just looking to see who that's going to be on Wednesday night. Who do you think it'll be?
I think Lindsay does. He's really he thinks about the game a lot, but he won't shy away from the effort areas, if that makes sense. The little things in that sense, pressures on the halves, kick pressure, marker pressure, getting back at third man and getting off the line. He's someone that never takes the easy option. He always looks to take the hard option. So I think, he's a man that's going to kind of pick up that slack, I think.
And I think with Reece Walsh at the back, I mean, he's had some amazing games this year, but, they've lost 3 of their last 4, the Broncos, and they've played some quality opposition. And some of the quality opposition have had time to sort of study how Reece plays throughout the year and have been able to keep him quite quiet. I watched that Penrith game live. We called that game, and he made a few errors. They put him under a fair bit of pressure, and you're going to have some experienced guys, putting a fair bit of pressure on Reece in his debut, and no one's doubting his talent.
Yep.
But sometimes, and he's a confident guy.
But there's an error in there occasionally.
There can be an error there, same as with their back 5 coming.
Okay, I'm going to do the Canberra. Good.
NRL News, Matty John slams disrespectful Dane Gagai snub, State of Origin, QLD, NSW, Game 1, Start Time News. NRL News 2023, Corey Parker makes bombshell QLD Maroons call, Reece Walsh, State of Origin, Game 1 Adelaide, StarTimeNews.com.au Australia's leading news site. Fox League presenter and Broncos legend Corey Parker has made a huge call ahead of Queensland's first State of Origin clash in Adelaide for Game 1. Last week saw the bombshell news that Kalyn Ponga would make way for Brisbane's Reece Walsh, despite being the incumbent and a hero in Maroon last year, and Parker thinks Queensland coach Billy Slater must stick with Walsh as he could help lead the Maroons to Origin glory. Watch the next 6 straight Broncos games round 13 to 20, exclusive to Fox League, available on KO Sports. New to KO, start your free trial now. Speaking exclusively to news.com.au, Parker said Walsh was the most informed option for Slater heading into Origin I. With Ponga having struggled with concussion throughout 2023, Parker was asked, head trauma notwithstanding, whether Ponga was the man for the job, and he was unequivocal. Well, he is fit. I mean, he's playing for Newcastle this weekend, Parker said. Aside from that, I think the team that Billy Slater's picked is probably the best informed team that you can pick now. Take nothing from Kalyn Ponga's performance last year for Queensland in Game 3, with no Cameron Munster. He stood up in a man of their match performance. He's played 5 games this year, and he hasn't finished a couple based on some EA stuff. I guess from Billy's point of view, they felt from a team's perspective that the right decision for the team was to go with Reece Walsh, and potentially get some more game time into Ponga coming into an Origin series. Reece was chosen in the team a couple of years ago, and had to withdraw through a hamstring strain, so that was taken away from him, and he's a better player now than when he was picked a couple of years ago. So it's exciting for Reece and for Billy, obviously disappointing for Kalyn, but from what we've seen from his performances this year, barring that game against the Titans in the second half where he was outstanding, he hasn't really set the world on fire, so Billy's opted to go with Reece, and I think it's a good choice. Ponga is not the only shock omission, with Slater opting to shake up the side that won the series 2-1 last year, and drop perennial Maroons champion Dane Gagai. There's always people south of the border that bang on about this loyalty card, but the loyalty card has been played with Dane Gagai, Parker said. Now last year's series, his form going into the series wasn't great, and Queensland won the series. But from a personal point of view, it probably wasn't his best performances for Queensland, and again this year, his form hasn't been great. His last game against the Sharks was by his own standards not great also, so there's an opportunity at the moment to bring somebody like Hamiso Tabuai Fido, who's been outstanding for the Dolphins, who's been waiting in the wings. Now's the opportunity. A clean start to the series, a clean start in the centers. That's not to say that Ponga's not going to play in the series, not to say that Dane Gagai isn't. But for game number 1, they've opted to go the way they are, and I agree with those decisions. Asked for his picks for the series, Parker surprised no one. Obviously Queensland to win the series. But on the Wally Lewis side of things, Cameron Munster's in really good form, and he'll bring that into the series. But I've seen Reece Walsh do things in games that have real pivotal moments in regards to the result. We've seen it time and time again with the Broncos. It wouldn't surprise me if Queensland go on to win this series if Reece Walsh is at the forefront of what they've done. With Parker's former side Brisbane exclusively on Fox League for their next 6 games, he described it as a critical time for Kevin Walters' outfit, which will have their depth tested over Origin season. It's a real critical time for the Broncos, isn't it? To be fair, they've lost 3 of the last 4 games, that being against big teams, he said. So that's obviously been a challenge for them. They were top of the ladder for a period of time, and they come into some big performers, and they were unable to get those jobs done. Now, they're going to appear that they're going to be left without 5 of their players, so the depth of the club will be challenged. But they've got plenty of good players to step into that role. It is crucial that they are still able to put in performances that they can be happy with, because at the end of the Origin series, who knows what it all looks like in regards to suspensions and injuries and the like, and then it's a short little downhill run to the semi-finals. Parker entered the year particularly critical of the Broncos, saying that he wanted to see evidence that they're really working hard, as opposed to just reading that they're working really hard, and says his former side have risen to the challenge. I think through that first 8 weeks of competition, I think it was pretty evident to everyone that defensively they were terrific. They were turning up for each other, they were working extremely hard, they were scrapping, they were desperate, they were doing all the things you need to do, and they still continue to do that. So to back up what I said at the start of the year, I am convinced that they've got a defensive attitude that can go to the next level. The challenge is going to be when they play big teams, that being Souths, that being Melbourne, that being Penrith. that they're able to stay in that long game, that grind, the end-to-end football for long periods of time. Read related topics Adelaide to Brisbane.
dailytelegraph.com.au. Subscribe to the Daily Telegraph for exclusive stories. Origin, NL's insult to Adelaide backfires. State of Origin is struggling to pull a crowd for the series opener in Adelaide, with locals blaming an insulting and disrespectful advertising campaign. Subscribe for full story. Get a read on this story. But it's a member-only story. Subscribe today to unlock it and more. Origin, NL's insult to Adelaide backfires. State of Origin is struggling to pull a crowd for the series opener in Adelaide, with locals blaming an insulting and disrespectful advertising campaign. Subscribe for full story. $1 a week for the first 12 weeks. The 5 best live sports streaming services in Australia 2023 reviews. The 5 best live sports streaming services in Australia 2023 reviews.org. Skip to main content. On this page. Best sports stream overall. Best free sports streaming. Best sports stream add-on. Best bundled sports stream. Best alternative sports streaming. Compare sports streaming services. The best sports streaming services in Australia. The best and the rest of sport streaming services in Australia. KO Sports. Key Sports. Test Cricket, AFL, NRL, NFL, NBA. Free trial. 7-day free trial. Apple TV Plus. Key Sports. Major League Soccer MLS and Friday Night Baseball. Free trial. 7-day free trial. 7 Plus. Key Sports. AFL Flash FLW, Surfing, Golf, V8 Supercars. Free trial. Free digital catch-up service. Stan Sport. Key Sports. Rugby, UEFA, Australian Open Tennis, T20 Black Clash. Free trial. 7-day free trial. Paramount Plus. Key Sports. A-League Football, A-League Women's, Socceroos and Matildas matches. Free trial. 7-day free trial. The rise of entertainment streaming in the wake of the gargantuan popularity of Netflix led to a lot of hope for cord-cutting sports lovers. Surely, with the fine-up-to-watch mentality of streaming services, sport would get streaming services in Australia. Fast forward to more recent times and the good news is there are sports streaming services out there. But choices aren't particularly widespread if you're a fan of more than one sport. Here are the best services for streaming sport. Best streaming service overall. Best free-to-air sports streaming. Best sports streaming add-on. Best bundled sports streaming. Best alternative sports streaming. The new challenger. 1. KO Sports. Best sports streaming service in Australia. If you want to watch a range of live sports at home, you're basically obligated to go with KO Sports. It's cheaper than a traditional Foxtel subscription and Foxtel Now, plus it has access to dozens of sports. And that includes plenty of popular options, the cricket, AFL, NRL, netball and WE to name a few. While the resolution caps out at around 1080p, you can pay for up to 3 simultaneous streams. Which means there doesn't have to be sites over which live sports to watch at home. Plus, KO Sports has neat features like no spoilers mode if you're coming to a game late. There's also the option to split your screen into up to 4 sports screens if you want a sports bar-like view of basically everything that's live at any one time. For a quantity of sports streaming, consider either Stan Sport or DAZN, though they both have single-figure sports options. The only reason you'd consider getting Foxtel Now over KO Sports is that you want the versatility to watch more than just sport. While KO Sports 1 costs $25 per month, the minimum buying cost for Foxtel Now is $25. And that doesn't include any sporting channels. Instead, that $25 will score you the Essentials base package, then you pay $29 extra a month to add the sports pack. Meaning it's a $54 per month fee outside of limited promotional pricing deals. That's all well and good if you can get the $25 of value out of the Essentials package, but if you're in it for just the sport, KO Sports is the way to go. Foxtel Now also lets you pay to add extra channels like movies and drama extra, but it can cost as much as $100 a month if you'd everything. To 7 Plus. Best free sports streaming in Australia. Watching live sports on free-to-air telly is a mess these days. 10play has some Aussie soccer, as does BS On Demand. And there's a smattering of live sport on 9 Now. But 7 Plus is the best place for a decent selection of free-to-air sports. Here's where you'll find some but not all, matches for AFL and Aussie cricket matches, plus motorsport. To help pad out the options, there's also fencing, horse racing and equestrian, athletics, extreme sports and even esports. Additionally, there are dedicated live channels if you don't care which sports you watch. 7 Plus is far from perfect, but it competes on live sports quantity and occasionally quantity, depending on your sporting tastes. Alternatively, consider the more limited free-to-air sports selections on 10play, 9 Now and SBS On Demand. 3. Stan Sport. Best sports streaming add-on. Stan Plus Stan Sport starts at. When Stan Sport first rolled out, it was easy to make jokes that the sport part of its title was well earned. Why? There was only one sport. Fast forward to more recent times, and Stan Sport has grown beyond just rugby union. The rugby is still there, but it's paired with options for football, soccer, motorsport and tennis. There are less populated sporting options, too, and we're hoping Festinardon keeps growing. The best bit is Stan Sport has gone from low-res streams to offering up to 4K live streams for selected sports. Plus, it does a great job of offering multiple replay length for popular matches. The only other sports add-on worth considering in Australia is the Sport Pack for Soxtel now. For a quantity of sports streaming, consider either Stan Sport or DAZN, though they both have single-figure sports options. 4. Paramount Plus. Best included sports stream. Number of sports. 1A League Football. Whenever a new entertainment streaming service is announced for Australia, it doesn't tend to have a lot of content at launch. That was true of Apple TV Plus, and there was a similar feeling for Paramount Plus. Still, Paramount Plus grabs an edge because it's basically the home of Australian soccer. Here's where you'll find live matches for the Socceroos and Matildas, alongside A-League football and the Far Cup. It's not so great if you want more than just soccer, but considering the comparatively reasonable pricing for Paramount Plus, it's a nice bonus for those subscribing for entertainment content. Similarly, for Aussie soccer fans, there's a decent monthly price for up to 3 simultaneous streams. For a lot of other soccer options, check in with Kaya Sports. Alternatively, for very occasional sports, Prime Video still has the best bundled value. 5. DAZN. Best alternative sports streaming. DAZN may have started in a few European countries, but it's now expanded to more than 200 countries, including Australia. Unlike the defunct Sports Flick, it's proven to have some staying power, too, with a couple of years of experience under its belt. A lot of that probably has to do with the range of sports on offer in DAZN. At its foundation, DAZN is all about boxing, including live bouts. It's expanded, though, to include the Professional Fighters League and Impact Wrestling, plus the OISA Women's Championship League. While a lot of that is dependent on respective live times, integrated Red Bull TV means there's an always playing selection of extreme sports and esports. For alternatives, consider beIN Sports, which is also part of a Kaya Sports subscription. For a lot of other soccer options, check in with Kaya Sports. Alternatively, for very occasional sports, Prime Video still has the best bundled value. Sports streaming services compared. Here's a breakdown of how the main sports services in Australia look side by side. Furvis. Monthly cost. Sports and quality. Streams. View plans. KO Sports. From $25 Flash EMS to $35 Flash EMS for premium. 40 plus sports. 1080p streaming. 7-day free trial. Up to 3 devices premium. View plans. Apple TV Plus. From $9.99 Flash EMS. Also included with Apple One from $21.95 Flash EMS. One Sport Major League Soccer. 4K streaming. 7-day free trial. 6 devices was family sharing. View plans. 7 Plus. Free. Digital catch-up service. 10 plus sports. 1080p streaming. Unlimited. View plans. Stan Sport. From $25 Flash EMS to $36 Flash EMS for premium. 7 sports. 4K streaming. 7-day free trial. Up to 4 devices premium. View plans. Paramount Plus. From $8.99 Flash EMS or $89.99 Flash year. One Sport A-League Football. 1080p streaming. 7-day free trial. 3 devices. View plans. DAZN. From $13.99 Flash EMS. 5 sports. 1080p streaming. No free trial. 2 devices. View plans. What to look for in a sports streaming service. The right sports streaming service for you is the one that has the sport or sports you want to watch. Ideally, that'd all be in one place, but it's not as easy as that these days. If you're a fan of a variety of sports, start comparisons with Kaya Sports. Certain sports streaming services offer different subscription tiers that offer more streams and better quality, like with Stan Sport. This is important if you want to stream different or the same live sports on multiple screens under the same account. Most services offer 1080p streaming, but some like 7play can be as low as 720p. Alternatively, you can pay more for the most expensive Stan Sport tier to access up to 4K live sports. For sports streaming services you don't watch all year round, remember you can typically cancel your subscription and easily resubscribe whenever your favorite sports are in season. Our methodology. How we choose the best sports streaming services. Our first step was to determine all of the sports streaming services in Australia, across premium and free options. When evaluating price and overall value, we started with the Foxtel Now subscription, which includes a base entertainment package and sports as an add-on. Streaming services were then appraised in terms of the quantity and quality of sports on offer, making note of when certain sports categories felt more like filler than truly valuable inclusions. Fidelity is important, even if 1080p is standard these days, and so too is the number of simultaneous streams. The next step was actually using the sports streaming services. We have extensive experience with the main sports streaming services. And for the smaller flash new contenders, we researched their features as well as user feedback. Sports streaming facts. Here are some of the most commonly asked questions about streaming sports in Australia. Kayo Sports is the best place to stream live sports. It's noticeably cheaper than Foxtel Now. Plus it offers more than 40 sports and up to 3 simultaneous streams. Kayo Sports, Stan Sport and Dev are good places to start for watching live sports in Australia. Alternatively, there are single sports services like Paramount Plus and Doctor Sport. If you want to cut the Foxtel cable, start sports streaming comparisons with Foxtel Now and Kayo Sports. Both offer the sports of Foxtel without needing a set-top box. Written by Nathan Lawrence. Nathan Lawrence has been banging out passionate tech and gaming words for more than 11 years. These days, you can find his work on outlets like in Stack, Fandom, Red Bull and Osgamers. Nathan adores PC gaming and the proof of his first-person shooter prowess is at the top of a Battlefield v scoreboard. Back to top.
Let's try and limit it to at least to a maximum even of 5. Yeah, because there are plenty of games and other things to talk about. We've got plenty at all. The idea of this game of like going like almost like it's almost like Football Manager crossed with a space sim, like trying to work out like how to do space
struggling, like,
trips.
Budget versus amount of
dream, balancing
like,
my dreams with science.
But it's like instead of budget, it's like resources, right? Like you've only got.
I played in sandbox mode. I was doing whatever I want, and I kind of liked. I was pleasantly surprised by Kerbal Space Program 2 how approachable it was. The tutorials were very helpful. Like I only played for 2 hours. I did
15 hours, which is, I don't know, that's music to my ears after Valhalla. But, you know, they also have like a slew of Assassin's Creed games coming out with Hex and Red and all that stuff.
But those might be part of a community-based system.
Yeah. Well, they're part
they're
of
all
that,
connected.
that like umbrella of Assassin's Creed games. But then it's also...
I mean, that doesn't sound like Valhalla either, right? Or Odyssey.
No, none of those all sound like really small kind of things. But then it's strange because Ubisoft is like, I think it was a few weeks ago where they were like, we are doubling down on Assassin's Creed because it's the only thing that makes us money anymore. And I mean, Mirage is like super popular. Like as far as like we're looking at our numbers on like what was hitting in Mirage has dwarfed everything else from that showcase, even Spider-Man. But that's because we'd already seen Spider-Man before.
I mean,
but like, I I don't know.
We don't know enough. We don't know how action oriented or stealth oriented the gameplay is, right? Because the trailer showed us both. So but what we do know, and like I'm particularly very excited about, is that it's back to being an urban environment, and or at least again that's what they showed off in the trailer was just like one big city. And if the game is actually that, like I just thought Valhalla was like a complete failure of not a video game. Like it was a very competent video game, but it had absolutely no sense of identity or what it was. It was just a mishmash of weird random shit. And like I just didn't so for Mirage to be a little bit more focused, and I actually, by the way, don't believe the 12 to 15 hour thing. I still think it's going to have a million side things in it and a map with just points of interest vomited all over it. But like being like a tighter, more urban space in a city, to me, that kind of like defines the essence of Assassin's Creed. And so I'm excited for that.
I just wish they had a fantasy open world series that could go alongside Assassin's Creed then, because we are looking at a lack of fantasy open world games coming out, at least in the really near future.
Good thing you have one that you can play for the rest of the year.
Yeah. Yes, that's very true.
Assassin's Creed is just it's two different games, right? Syndicate was the last of the old ones. Origins was the start of the new ones. So then it's like, the brand itself kind of loses a little bit of its identity, because like when you compare Syndicate to Origins, they couldn't be more different games. Like they're just completely different games.
But Ubisoft has compared this to the size of Syndicate already.
Right, because this is more comparable to Syndicate. Like you can.
I just think it's funny. I mean, again, like my whole thing here is like they're getting 9s for these games. Like, really?
Is that why the game is called Village? Like, is it just a happy coincidence? Like, how did that come together?
Resident Evil 9 Mixer.
It's no slug giraffe. Remember that?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's been raining a lot, and there's like nothing to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, first of all, those movies have some of the worst music I've ever heard in them. Constantly, it's just constant garbage, like fake house music. It's so bad, or like heavy metal with like new rap over. It's just awful. And like I had to keep turning down the movie and then turning it up again to just like hear the fantastic dialogue. But yeah, I can't believe like the country song origins of this, the dog in the car thing, and like it's just hilarious. And so I was watching the first movie and I was like, I understand why people like this, and I enjoyed it. First of all, I like all these movies.
I'm Adam. I'm a father of 2 kids and I drive with Uber. Working when I want allows me to be there for my kids when they need me.
Eating disorder 2021. Welcome to Tech News Briefing. It's Thursday, May 18th. I'm Zoe Thomas for the Wall Street Journal. In 2021, the Journal did an investigation into how TikTok's algorithm can steer dark content to users about self-harm, eating disorders, and suicide. Since then, TikTok says it's made changes. It's strengthened parental controls and promised a more even-keeled algorithm. But a recent study into young teens on the app found the experience might not have changed much. Our family and tech columnist Julie Jargon will join us to talk about that research and the steps teens and parents can take to stay out of dark rabbit holes on TikTok. But first, starting with other TikTok news. Montana's Governor Greg Gianforte signed the country's first outright ban of the app into law yesterday. Montana's legislature passed a bill banning the app in April. The law, now set to take effect January 1st, would bar TikTok from operating in Montana and forbid app stores such as Google's and Apple's from making the app available to download in the state. The signing of the bill paves the way for a legal battle that could determine the future of the app nationwide. TikTok said in an earlier statement the bill's constitutionality will be decided by the courts. IBM and Google are giving $150 million for quantum computing research to the University of Chicago and the University of Tokyo. Quantum computers could help solve problems that classical computers alone can't. For example, modeling how a drug could work. The investment from the tech giants comes as the US and Japan are rushing to stay ahead of China in the race to develop the most advanced technology. China has invested heavily in quantum computing, which also has possible military applications. Elizabeth Holmes must report to prison by May 30th. The founder of the failed blood testing company Theranos had requested to stay out of prison pending an appeal. But a U.S. who gets the long-standing symbol of verification has been mixed. Joining me now to discuss this is our Twitter reporter, a verified user.
You do more things now. It took us some time to investigate. Now we've done our investigation, and we can make.
So why has the SEC changed its approach?
I think at least part of the answer. 21, the SEC was the best party to say that. They know the securities laws like no one else, and so by allowing this was illegal under the securities laws, asking about very foundational legal questions that the SEC is best placed to interpret. So if the business was illegal under the securities laws in 20, a part of your business violated the law. What's interesting about this case, and this is what Coinbase says, is that as part of the IPO, the SEC was asking about very foundational legal questions that the SEC is best placed to interpret. So if the business was illegal under the securities laws in 2021, the SEC was the best party to say that. They know the securities laws like no one else to interpret. Of the improve your disclosure to investors as part of your IPO, and then essentially have the option of coming along later and alleging that you made misstatements in the disclosure or that some other part of your business violated the law. What's interesting about this case, and this is what Coinbase says, is that as part of the IPO, the SEC was asking about very foundational legal questions that the SEC is best placed to interpret. So if the business was illegal under the securities laws in 2021, the SEC was the best party to say that. They know the securities laws like no one else. And so by allowing the Coinbase IPO to proceed, Coinbase says, hey, you were kind of telling the public markets, this business is okay.
Yeah, so, looking at this, Dave, Coinbase is a cryptocurrency exchange. It sells different cryptocurrencies. Its business model hasn't changed. So why has the
questions, improve your disclosure to investors as part of your IPO, and then essentially have the option of coming along later and alleging that you made misstatements in the disclosure or that some other part of your business violated the law. What's interesting about this case, and this is what Coinbase says, is that as part of the IPO, the SEC was asking about very foundational legal questions that the SEC is best placed to interpret. So if the business was illegal under the securities laws in 2021, the SEC was the best party to say that. They know the securities laws like no one else. And so by allowing the Coinbase IPO to proceed, Coinbase says, hey, you were kind of telling the public markets, this business is okay.
Yeah, so, looking at this, Dave, Coinbase is a cryptocurrency exchange. It sells different cryptocurrencies. Its business model hasn't changed. So why has the SEC changed its approach?
I think at least part of the answer is that the SEC's attempt to police crypto has been evolving since about 2017, when the SEC first said, hey, this market looks like something that we regulate. So it's been evolving, and the SEC is not going to bring every enforcement action at the same time. It needs to conduct investigations. It needs to learn the facts underlying any legal claims it makes. And it may take a while. It's reasonable to take a couple years to investigate a particular case. So certainly the SEC can say, look, you guys were a good-sized exchange back in 2021, but you're really big now. You do more things now. It took us some time to investigate. Now we've done our investigation, and we can make fully informed claims in a lawsuit if that's what happens.
That was our financial enforcement reporter, Dave Michaels. And it's been 2 weeks since Twitter began removing blue check marks from legacy verified users. Reaction to the new approach for who gets the long-standing symbol of verification has been mixed. Joining me now to discuss this is our Twitter reporter, Alexa Kors. Alexa, as it stands now, who gets a blue check mark? It's still kind of confusing. So back up to 2 weeks ago, Twitter said they were beginning to remove check marks from legacy verified accounts, and a lot of people did lose their check marks. But we saw within days that check marks started reappearing for a lot of celebrities, other high-profile accounts, and some of those people were quick to clarify, hey, we didn't subscribe. So it looks like the company at least partially backtracked. So kind of the whole point is that Twitter is switching from the old system in which the company wouldn't charge for verification, but would verify accounts that were authentic and notable, to now selling the check marks through its subscription service. Why have people been so upset about this change? Yeah, I mean, it's been really polarizing, and there are several reasons. One was that the blue check marks had been around for a long time. For some people, they had become this sought after status symbol. Some people are worried about impersonation. And some people simply now view the check marks as a symbol of Elon Musk's leadership, his tenure at Twitter, and they don't want to be seen as supporting him. What have Musk and Twitter said about the complaints over the new blue checkmark system? So Twitter responded to a request for comment with a poop emoji, which is their auto reply for press emails these days. Musk said he's personally paying for some celebrity subscriptions. So Musk said he viewed the old system of blue check marks as elitist, and we've been talking about how polarizing this change has been. Alexa, I wonder how reaction to this change might affect Musk's approach to other changes at Twitter going forward. This is arguably Musk's most significant product change since taking over Twitter. I mean, there's been a lot of changes, but growing subscription revenue has been a big part of his plans to turn around Twitter. But we know he's also laid out other ambitions, like expanding into digital payment services. So certainly could see more changes down the road. That was our Twitter reporter, Alexa.
Are your coworkers a little quirky? The overshoot education system. That's a question on top of deal to be managed by a group of investors led by tech editor for Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Tovi is the
com.au.
Parents and teachers have been worried about the way generative artificial intelligence tools like ChatGPT could impact learning. Hadi Partovi is the founder and CEO of Code.org, a nonprofit focusing on computer science education. He sat down with the Wall Street Journal's editor for Europe, Middle East, and Africa, Thorold Barker, at this year's Future of Everything Festival. And they talked about how schools will need to adapt to students' growing use of AI, the impact AI will have on inequality, and more. Here are highlights from their conversation.
What should schools be doing? Let's start short term. I mean, what should their short term response to this be?
So the most common short-term response has been banning the use of things like ChatGPT, which I'm not sure is terrible as a short-term response. First of all, because many of these AI tools aren't licensed for use by students who are under 18, but also because schools are currently assigning homework that could just be done in a second by an AI. But what schools really need to be thinking about is how to change not only how we teach, but even what we teach, what we expect students to learn, so that instead of teaching memorization and rote practice, we teach creativity, problem solving, critical thinking, and the use of technology for doing the things that right now students are doing by pen and paper. And I honestly think education is going to need to change not only once, but education is going to need to start becoming a more adaptive system. We invented the global education system for the technology of centuries ago, with the printing press and books as the main technology for information gathering. And our education system is designed around reading everything you can and then getting all the knowledge inside your head. And now we have information at your fingertips and AI that can synthesize even new thoughts and bring things together. We need to rethink how we teach in a world where lifelong learning is how we work things, not just 16 years of learning.
So what are you most excited about? I mean, if you could point to something that you hope is changed in 10 years' time in schools, I mean, what are the one or two things you'd really love to see?
I mean, it's very hard to think 10 or more years' time, but it's worth noting that a student starting kindergarten today is going to be graduating in the late 2030s. And so our school system needs to think about what are things going to look like then. But I believe in the long run, education will be much more personalized, and AI is going to be much more of a tutor that you'll learn from, and your teacher is going to be much more of a coach. And the personalization of learning also means much more adaptation of what a student's passions are, rather than everybody needs to memorize the same information from all these subjects. There's a smaller level of stuff that everybody's going to need to know in their heads, with access to a lot more depth if they use technology and AI for learning.
Is this an opportunity to reduce inequality? Is it going to increase inequality of education? What's going to happen with this?
It's a little bit of both. Access to computers and the internet is not equal. And so for folks who don't have that kind of access, this will widen those gaps. But for folks who do have digital access, it's very much of an equalizer, because the more of a role AI plays as a teacher, as a tutor, everybody will have the same high quality tutor. Right now, the quality of teaching varies very much from classroom to classroom, from country to country, but the quality of the technology that they use is much more equal.
And are you seeing, I mean, if you look at, take New York City, you talked about the fact that, you're not many.
You're listening to The Globalist, first broadcast on the 23rd of May, 2023 on Monaco.
But I think we'll see more of the same. But my fear, yes, and the United States returning to the JCPOA, I doubt it very much. But our listener, there is still the issue of Iran nuclear and whether Iran and the United States returning to the JCPOA, I doubt it. Let's remind our listener, there is still the issue of Iran nuclear and whether Iran and the United States returning to the JCPOA, I doubt it very much. But I think we'll see more of the same. But my fear, yes, it will be similar, but the hardliners are right now, when it comes to domestic politics, are winning the day.
Yossi Meckelberg, thank you so much for joining us on Monocle Radio. You're The Globalist. Globalist. Reporter and regular voice here on Monocle Radio, Vincent McAviney. Good morning, Vinny. How goes it?
Good morning. I'm well, thanks. How are you?
Very well, thank you, and glad to have you with us. Right, what have you spotted? Let's crack on.
Well, one story that was breaking overnight is that E. Jean Carroll, who was the New York kind of writer society lady who successfully earlier this month won a court case against Donald Trump over an alleged sexual assault in the 1990s. She was awarded $5 million in damages from Trump, including $2 million for the sexual abuse and $3 million for the defamation. Well, of course, Donald Trump then, within 24 hours, was on that CNN town hall, and after having attacked E. Jean Carroll in the process on his own Truth Social, he then was on
national network television on CNN, also making disparaging claims about her, criticising the verdict, criticising the judge, the jury, and so she has decided to go after him for further damages. I think it's going to be a really interesting case to see, because he has very rarely had his words come back to haunt him. He of course has the case that's ongoing in New York as well, with the district attorney, and he's tried to attack that judge and that process as well. So there are questions as to whether or not restrictions will be put on him in that case when it comes to social media and public statements. But it is slightly chilling that someone trying to be president would be so publicly attacking and sort of putting seeds of doubt in his base in the justice system.
And you absolutely have to admire this woman's determination.
She's incredible. I mean, she did a full round of interviews the day afterwards. She was, unapologetic that she had done the right thing, that he deserved to she's would be so publicly attacking and sort of putting seeds of doubt in his base in the justice system.
And you absolutely have to admire this woman's determination.
She's incredible. I mean, she did a full round of interviews the day afterwards. She was, unapologetic that she had done the right thing, that he deserved to face justice like this. He was given repeated instances to come to court to try and defend himself, to explain himself, and he refused to do so because he simply can't.
It's an astonishing thought that despite everything that has been done, including, 2 impeachments, the thing that could get Donald Trump is one woman, E. Jean Carroll, who can actually bring him down.
Well, 2 women, in fact. E. Jean Carroll, who is potentially going to get more money from him now after that huge settlement, but also the New York case centres around Stormy Daniels, another woman who
I'd forgotten about Stormy
in
Daniels.
the face of a lot of adversity, a lot of threats, a lot of very violent people trying to find her. She's currently sort of living in hiding. In the last interview that I saw, she is determined to make sure that justice is also seen.
So while Trump is under fire, we now have Ron DeSantis in Florida, and you've picked up on a story in the LA Times, haven't you, Vinny, which is about DeSantis wanting to make America Florida. I mean, these are 2 things that sort of, when you see the news cycle go round and round and round, and you think that Trump had gone a couple of years in, he was done. Then we have Trump coming back, and then we have sort of Trump Mark II with Ron DeSantis, don't we? And you sort of dare I say it, the heart sinks a little.
Well, I mean, Ron DeSantis now.
ABC Listen, podcasts, radio, news, music, and more.
Hi, I'm Sam Hawley, coming to you from Gadigal Land. This is ABC News Daily. You probably know a bit about hydrogen from your science lessons at school, but you're about to hear a lot more about it as Australia embarks on a massive push to become the world's hydrogen superpower. The hope is the element will soon be fueling everything from cars to passenger jets as the world races to switch off fossil fuels. Today, ABC business reporter Rachel Patchett to fuel aeroplanes.
Anywhere you need energy, hydrogen could be applied.
Okay.
Manufacturing is coming to central Queensland.
It's working, ladies and gentlemen. This is the start of the Industrial Revolution.
Anywhere you need manufacturing for
Freight ships. Many are thirsty for the fuel of the future.
but also as an energy source to fuel other processing facilities, manufacturing facilities.
Green hydrogen manufacturing is coming to central Queensland.
It's working, ladies and gentlemen. This is the start of the Industrial Revolution.
Anywhere you need energy, hydrogen could be applied.
Okay, yeah, I even see reports that it could be used one day in the future to fuel aeroplanes, which would be a bit exciting.
The search for a greener way of flying is underway. This hydrogen plane could be taking paying passengers within 3 years.
If we, Rachel, are pretty good at converting hydrogen into energy because we have so much sun and wind, why is it that we don't already have more hydrogen cars here?
Yeah, so I guess there are risks associated with it, and the technology is still being developed. You're creating a gas and it is very, very flammable. There are risks associated with it. It requires, as I said, a lot of energy to create the hydrogen, to separate it from water. And so that technology is still being refined and being, improved upon. And then, of course, the other challenge is once you've done that process to separate it is the storage and keeping it at my.
This is an ABC podcast.
Annette Trevitt began a strange chapter of her life a few years ago in a remote mining town in Western Australia. Her dad John had moved to Karratha in the 1970s, fleeing bankruptcy. He'd also left behind a wife and 3 children, thousands of kilometres away in New South Wales. Annette was 7 years old when her dad left, and from that point on, she only ever saw him at Christmas. Meanwhile, in the Pilbara, John began his reinvention. He built a small real estate empire, amassing 7 properties and riding the mining boom. But eventually, the boom went bust, and
tukura, tukura.
Estoy borracho, miramos, estamos borracho, miramos, estamos borracho, miramos, ¿cómo estás? Dios mío, santo, país Australia, país Australia, Dios santo.
John's properties were worth very little. When he died suddenly, Annette, as his eldest child, was tasked with unpicking the detritus of her dad's life. It was a 2-year-long struggle which saw Annette battling bureaucracy and bankers in a bid to sort through the mess and restore order. At the same time, she was sifting through some strange and powerful memories of her dad. She's written a book about it all called I Had a Father in Karratha. Hi.
Terms or anything, but it was so that certainly helped me be able to talk to my father about this stuff. Is 4 ways. It was, it sounded so simple, and I rent, so I've never access and
properties in. I mean, was that straightforward for you?
Gone through 3 months earlier, and the banks just kept lending him the money, so he was in dire situation, and he had no way of getting out of it. His age. His cognitive skills weren't as good. He was completely overwhelmed. And all these places were run down, so there's a lot of maintenance to maintain them. So it was I don't know how he did it. He didn't do it. That's the problem.
And what state was the paperwork connected to all these properties in? I mean, was that straightforward for you to make sense of?
No, well, I knew a problem. Money, the back of him going into the bank to get another loan, to pay off a loan that had already he'd gone through 3 months earlier, and the banks just kept lending him the money. So he was in dire situation, and he had no way of getting out of it. His age, his cognitive skills weren't as good. He was completely overwhelmed. And all these places were run down, so there's a lot of maintenance to maintain them. So it was I don't know how he did it. He didn't do it. That's the problem.
And what state was the paperwork connected to all these properties in? I mean, was that straightforward for you to make sense of?
No, well, I knew I was the executor, and I'd already seen the will, and the will was pay all the taxes and debts, and then sell and divide the properties 4 ways. It was, it sounded so simple, and I rent, so I've never had an interest in.
Do I have to cut it now? Do I? You just like cutting it now, so I press stop down. You have to learn to get it yourself. God, oh my God, yeah, the God, ah my God, what the God, oh, ah, ah, chugga, woo, playful, go, ah, pew. Ayo, ah, ah, ooh, ah, ah, God, yoo-hoo, boo-hoo, dun, pam, dun, dun, pam, dun, pam, dun, yo, ba, riba, and then pariba, papa, and then pariba, papa, and then pariba, papa, ya, no, deo, dono, ¿Cómo está? ¿Qué pasa? ¿Cómo está? ¿Qué pasa? ¿Cómo? ¿Qué te pasa? ¿Cómo estás? No te ponga como acá, que no vamos campeón. Hasta. Ya nos fuimos ya, campeón, celebrando un carnaval. Muévelo, vamos, Tiene que estar caliente. Muévelo, muévelo. Muévelo, muévelo. Uno, uno, dos, uno, dos, uno, dos, dos, uno, dos, dos, uno, dos, dos, uno, dos, dos, silencio, silencio. Caliente, caliente. Silencio, silencio. Caliente, caliente. Tu 4, 10.7. Piense, el sentimiento viene caliente con la movimiento. Mueve la mano, amigo. ¿Qué tienes miedo, weón? ¿Qué tienes miedo, weón? Mueve la mano. Mueve la mano. Mueve la mano. Sentimiento. 1, 2, 2. ¿Cómo dijiste? 1, 2, 2. Sentimiento. Al carnaval. Pórtate bueno. Manera, relación. El amor. Cariño. El odio. Que te maten. ¡Viva la revolución! Se va la escoba, se va la escoba, se va la escoba, se va. Ra, 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 ra. Tigre. Ra, ra, ra. Australia. Ra, ra, ra. Latinos. Carnavales. Nos vimos. Talalala. Tranquilo, amigo, tranquilo. El Naiva está muy tonto, weón. El que pelea de como fighter de confuta la puerta toda. El bar, weón, de al lado, weón. Penca, weón. Estúpido, no sé qué pala. Él no me entra. Él no me entra a mí, a tu pala. Este weón al lado está Naiva, se llama Darren, o yo soy Hector, weón. Nada, wala. Stupid la wea. Anyway, you have to have some movement with the people that are all different. They can just walk down and they'll show you carnival. What do you call it? It's like a protest, but it's not a protest where they protest. No, it's a carnival where they walk, show their talent on different countries. They probably walk 1 kilometer, it's probably long enough, I don't know. Separated to see the festival, yeah. Yeah, many festivals can be created for the future, you understand? Maybe combining multicultural, harmony. People who have money, clever, go to university. What is your problem? What is this? I understand we must grow up, hey? Man up. But come on, what is it? Move the hand, he said. Amigo. What's this shit? What are you talking about? Like yeah. Look. The same fucking 1 minute 23, amigo. 21, this shit, huh? ¿Qué pasa? Yeah, I got things to do, bro. Chaga, bros. New Zealand. Amigo, Marco Roja. Colo. Marco Roja, Colo. Pablo Cuevas? No, Pablo. Puerto. Pablo Cuevas. Pablo. He played for the Melbourne Victory. Yes, he played for Melbourne Victory. Pablo. A Chilean lady, Roja. She played for Canberra. Can't remember the other one. Sydney somewhere. Yeah, right. Many people that have talent, spiritually talented, Picasso, because these people have to go to university or become the scientists, special people. Not me. I see a lot on the news, on SBS, Facebook, other places. See a lot of different faces. They have restaurant, they have videos for restaurant or the festival, or in Sydney, festival. They celebrate, you must go there. You must go check it out. People outside now, all talking loud, very cranky. I have to man up, man up. Look for friends that can man up, man up. Look for friends that man up, man up. Yeah, fix it up, muck it up. Familia, cooking the food, la familia, cooking the food. Have good to understand the life. Have good to understand the life with the bad, good, bad relationship. Good, bad relationship. Wow, always explode, I would stoke. I'm going, adios, ciao, poo, poo, pow. Dios God, on Jesus Christ that died on the cross for us humans, brother. Intermix, hector, YouTube, and we shut down one, uno, dos, two, uno, two, dos.